All right, I'm here with our friend Caleb Silver. He's the chief business editor at People Inc. He's the editor-in-chief of Investopedia. Right now, everybody's talking about it. Gas prices are soaring across the country, almost at $4 a gallon as a national average, $5.65 or something like that if you're in California. This is all because of the war in Iran and a near total block on the crucial Strait of Hormuz. Now, spikes in oil prices have happened throughout history. So Caleb and I are going to take a trip through time with our old friend Betty. We got a little twist. Betty and Betty's mother, Barbara, that's little baby Betty. Back in the 1970s, Betty was just an infant. Between doctor's appointment and grocery runs, Barbara, Betty's mother, was keeping busy, and she was feeling the pain at the gas pump. Because in October of 1973, some of the members of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, known as OPEC, announced a total oil embargo on countries, including the U.S., that had supported Israel in the Arab-Israeli war. By the time the embargo was lifted in March of 1974, the price of oil had risen 400%. Now, it had gone from $3 a barrel to $12 a barrel, but that contributed to a 48% contraction in the stock market and a recession that would last through the spring of 1975. Unemployment hit 9%. We're under 5% right now. But that's what a whole lot of people remember.
Yeah, and ask your parents, ask your grandparents about those no gas at this gas station.
Right, lineups.
Lineups for hours and hours just to get gasoline. This had a debilitating effect on the economy, put the U.S. economy into a long period of stagflation. That's high prices, low growth, and very low employment, and that's not what we want to see. This was extreme, a 4x spike in oil prices.
And by the way, hard to get out of. It did have one interesting effect. It got rid of big cars in America and created the small car.
Yeah, welcome
craze.
to the sedan.
That's right. Welcome to the sedan. All right, let's go back to let's go forward now to 1990. Betty is now a senior in high school. She and her mom are doing a lot of traveling. They're visiting prospective colleges. Once again, filling up the car for those trips is hurting their wallet, this time because of the Gulf War. Oil prices more than doubled. They had started at $17 a barrel and jumped to $36 a barrel. Consumer confidence collapsed. The economy entered another recession. Unemployment peaked at 7.8% in the spring of 1992. Little more in common with what we're seeing
this
today.
is a lot closer to what we're seeing today because this is supply destruction in a key part of the world where oil is produced, and we know the Strait of Hormuz is right there. So this is very much like kind of what we're seeing today. This lasted for an extended period of time because we didn't know how long this war was going to last either. It ended up being many years longer than what people thought. You had a big spike in oil prices there. You had sort of the beginning of a huge run-up in inflation. What did the Federal Reserve have to do? Raise interest rates to cool that down, and that had a very profound effect on the economy.
That's super hard, though, because if you're paying more for gas or energy in your house and then they raise interest rates, you're just paying more for life.
Everything just costs more, and we might be nearing a phase like that right now.
That's why this is an interesting one. All right, let's jump forward in time to 2008. Caleb and I were awful busy then. It was the United States in the middle of a massive financial crisis. Betty had a newborn son of her own, Bobby, whom you know. Grandma Barbara is living with them to save money. Gas prices spike because of strong demand for oil amid stagnating production around the entire world. The price of oil more than doubling again. It was $60 a barrel, went up to $143 a barrel. But then oil prices collapsed to just $35 a barrel by the end of 2008.
Right. This didn't cause the great financial crisis, but it sort of got us set up for it. And when the bottom fell out of the housing market, you had these incredibly high prices. You had inflation everywhere. This took the stock market down about 50%, and it wrecked a lot of people's careers. It took people years to get out of the economic hole from the great financial crisis. But it just shows you how profound the impacts of these rising oil prices have on all of us. It's not just at the gas pump. That's where we feel it on a daily basis. But everything
you do and everything you get and everything is delivered to your house, every plane you take, every piece of food you get from a farm, all of it. You're paying. The gas prices are the obvious ones.
Right.
But it's not the only place it hits.
And you see them on the highway every day or when you go to fill up. But you're getting it in every derivative product of oil and petroleum. And that's kind of what happened then.
So let's go to the not too distant past, early 2022. Russia just invaded Ukraine. Betty, Bobby, and Grandma Barbara are just trying to make it past the hump of the COVID pandemic. Worldwide, countries embargo Russian oil. And as a result of that, Russian oil being taken off the market, prices for oil rose 70%, going from $70 a barrel to $120 a barrel, a number that we've actually just hit in the last few weeks. This, again, did not kick off a recession, but the economic impact was widely felt because what you call real incomes ended up falling, and the U.S. aggressively ended up hiking interest rates.
Hiking interest rates has kicked off a bear market. We had one of those in the past 5 years. That was the year that happened. This caused a tremendous amount of instability. Supply chains were blocked every which way. We didn't know where oil was going to come from. Ironically, the U.S. buying oil from Russia now to make sure we have enough supply. But this upended oil supplies. It upended the entire global capital markets as well.
So we've seen Brent, which is the worldwide price of oil, hitting about $120 at various times in the last few weeks. We've seen the U.S. price above 100 at some point. Unlike other things like tariffs, where a company might pass it on to the consumer or not, that's not how it works with oil. 100% of the increase in the price of oil will be felt. So if you're thinking oil's about $4 a gallon right now, it's probably going to go higher.
Yeah, do the math like this. Every $10 increase in crude oil prices means about a quarter a gallon, another quarter to a $0.50 a gallon. So as oil prices rise, gas prices rise. But it's the bottom of the barrel that we want to think about, too. That's the crude. That's where diesel comes from. Right. That's where jet fuel comes from. That's where the fuel to power big rigs comes from. Right. That's where a lot of industrial production gets its fuel from. Those prices are spiking, and oil trades 23 hours a day, 6 days a week. So a lot of companies buy it into the future. Yeah. We're already hearing from companies like United Airlines saying, we could see oil prices of 150, 160. Wow. We're going to cut capacity. We may have to charge more for our seats. Airline prices are already rising. This is an overall inflationary effect, and we don't know how long it's going to last.
All right, Caleb, thank you. As always, Caleb Silver is the chief business editor at People Inc. and the editor-in-chief at Investopedia. All right.